It was the end of the Middle Ages, the start of the Renaissance. In the mid-1400s, when Europe was in a great rebirth, what is probably one of the most influential inventions in history was created. Created by Johannes Gutenberg, the printing press suddenly allowed for the mass printing of ideas. The printing press allowed ideas to spread much faster and greatly aided education. In the process, it changed the world. During the Middle Ages, most people could not read. They looked to the church to teach them about religion and how to live life. The printing press began to help people learn to read. Slowly, people became educated beings who could think for themselves. When Martin Luther came to Rome as a priest, he was enraged at the sale of indulgences. The sale of indulgences was the act of the clergy, religious leaders, selling indulgences, places in heaven, to people or their loved ones. Martin Luther himself was getting an indulgence when he observed that many of the people who were getting indulgences were poor. All of a sudden, it dawned upon him that religious leaders were taking money from the poor, the people who needed it most. He realized that the only way to buy a place in heaven was through complete repentance, asking forgiveness, and by acting righteously. He wrote these flaws of the Catholic Church and many others on paper, calling people to a debate on whether or not to change the church. This paper was named the 95 Theses. People liked his ideas. They took the paper to a printing press and printed copy after copy of the 95 Theses. They spread the papers everywhere, and even posted one on the doors of the Castle Church in Wittenberg, Germany. Thus began the Protestant Reformation, the countless battles fought to create other branches of Christianity. Martin Luther was called to attend a trial at the Diet of Worms, a trial for heretics, people who questioned the church. Here he was asked to recant, to take back his words. In response, he uttered the famous line, "I cannot and will not recant." He was then excommunicated, kicked out of the church. On his way back from the Diet of Worms, Frederick the Wise, a prince, kidnapped Martin Luther to save him from the fate that nearly all heretics faced: death. Martin Luther was brought back to the castle of Frederick the Wise. He lived there for 2 years, translating the Bible into the local language and writing powerful writings, all to be printed on a printing press, for his ideas to spread faster. Now that it was translated, people began to read the Bible for themselves, meaning that they finally weren't just listening to the clergy, and along with this, they began to question the Catholic Church. A ferocious religious war took place between the Catholics and the Protestants. If it weren't for the printing press, the Protestants may never have been able to break away from the Catholics. Speed was key at this time, as Catholics were killing Luther's followers fast. The printing press greatly sped up the spread of Luther's ideas, increasing the numbers of his followers at a faster rate than they could be killed. If it weren't for the sudden speed at which Luther's ideas spread across Europe, the Protestants would have been fiercely outnumbered and massacred. Luther's followers succeeded in a short time to break apart from the Catholic Church, creating the Lutheran Church. By doing this, the Lutherans paved the path for new sects of the Church to appear. As the Renaissance and Reformation progressed, the printing press continued to change the thinking of the European world. as scientists, philosophers, mathematicians, and many other great thinkers of the Renaissance and the scientific revolution began to perform their great and productive lives, they were able to gain great fame and money through publishing their works. By printing their books and writings, the ideas of Marco Polo, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo Buonarroti, Nicholas Copernicus, Galileo Galilei, Isaac Newton, and many more great thinkers became more influential and changed the thinking of the time. Some of them were able to gain money as their writings sold. Therefore, the printing press introduced a new part of the economy, publishing. Marco Polo lived during the early stages of the Renaissance. He became a very famous traveler after he traveled through Asia and China and back to Europe with his father and uncle over the course of 24 years. When he returned, he published a book telling of the wonders and luxuries of Asia. This was an immensely important action, as it encouraged trade in Europe, which may have completely launched it into the Renaissance. Leonardo da Vinci was one of the most famous polymaths, or Renaissance men. This is because he contributed to many areas of expertise. An accomplished architect, sculptor, painter, musician, scientist, mathematician, engineer, inventor, anatomist, geologist, cartographer, botanist, and writer. He made himself wealthy by publishing his findings in his areas of expertise with the help of the printing press. As he lived, many of his ideas and events were recorded in publications. Michelangelo was another of the most famous polymaths of the Renaissance. His areas of expertise included sculpting, painting, architecture, poetry, and engineering. His ideas and creations were published in countless biographies about him, two of which were published in his lifetime. This meant that Michelangelo's ideas spread with the help of the printing press. Nicolaus Copernicus was a multi-talented man of the scientific revolution. He earned a name for himself as a mathematician, jurist, physician, translator, artist, and most importantly, astronomer. He introduced the theory of the universe not existing around Earth, but Earth and other planets of the solar system revolving around the sun. He wrote a book on the revolutions of the celestial spheres at the end of his lifetime that spread his ideas. Galileo Galilei was yet another multi-talented man of the scientific revolution. Most important was his work as an astronomer. Galileo improved the telescope so he could see deeper into space. He then found evidence to support Copernicus's ideas. He added very much to our knowledge of the solar system today in his publications. Arguably the most famous of these thinkers was Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton published his discoveries in the laws of physics. These new religious and scientific ideas helped to bring the Age of Enlightenment and led to the modern world we live in today. As the Industrial Revolution established its hold on Europe, the printing press became big business. Newspapers and books needed to be mass-produced to keep up with the demand, and ideas spread like wildfires in society. To accommodate this higher demand, new models of the printing press had to be produced. The printing press is still being used today, but its place is being taken by a modern printing press, the internet. Ideas and news can now spread faster than ever before, and now anyone can be published on the internet. The speed at which ideas are spreading and being added to the internet is increasing exponentially. In In a mere matter of decades, the internet has gained unreal power. With great power comes great responsibility, however, and using the power of the internet to our advantage is important. To do this, we must leave positive digital footprints that show the extent of our knowledge and abilities. Even this video, for example, is part of a digital footprint. The printing press has left an everlasting dent in history. Today, we see its power in the new form of the internet.